For nearly a century, the official story of Queen Puabi's tomb offered a strangely comforting image. 52 attendants drinking poison, lying down willingly beside their queen in ancient Ur. Then modern CT scans shattered that narrative, revealing blunt force fractures, copper traces embedded in bone, and evidence of coordinated killing that is 4,500 years old. The real question is not how they died. It is what kind of power could demand it. In 1928, under the relentless Mesopotamian sun, Leonard Woolley's team pressed deeper into the clay of Ur. Their pick struck something stubborn, a stone vault sealed tight, untouched for over 4,000 years. The work slowed to a hush. Woolley, a man not easily shaken, called for brushes and chisels instead of shovels. Layer by layer, the earth peeled back to reveal a chamber, its bricks still holding the scent of ancient bitumen. When the final slab gave way, a glint caught in the dust. A single bead, gold foil wrapped around carnelian, no bigger than a fingernail. It rested atop a tangle of blue lapis and shell, woven into a headdress that had once crowned a woman's skull. The silence broke as the chamber's contents came into view. Gold leaves, hammered thin as paper, were scattered across the floor, tangled with strands of lapis lazuli that had traveled from mountains 2,000 kilometers away. The skeleton at the center, delicate but unmistakably female, wore ornaments that outshone anything from the royal tombs of Egypt or Mycenae. 3 cylinder seals pressed into the clay at her right arm bore a name, Puabi, Eresh. No king's name, no consort's title, just hers. Woolley scribbled furiously in his field notebook, his handwriting jagged with adrenaline. His workers, many of them local men who had spent years in the trenches, fell quiet, awed by the sheer weight of treasure and the sense of stepping into forbidden territory. The air in the chamber felt close, heavy with the scent of ancient resins and something metallic. For a moment, time collapsed, and the world outside the tomb faded away. This was no ordinary burial. The sealed vault, the untouched ornaments, the name inscribed for eternity, everything pointed to a woman whose power had reached beyond death. The question was no longer just about how she died, but what her burial demanded of the living. 52 bodies, arranged in silent ranks, lined the pit outside Puabi's stone chamber. Each skeleton lay exactly placed, shoulders squared, limbs composed, heads to the east, forming a human pattern that echoed the order of the city above. At the head of each row, attendants rested on wooden litters, some still clutching lyres, silver and gold inlay gleaming even after 4,000 years. Others wore headdresses of lapis and gold, their beads scattered but their positions undisturbed. The pit's floor was packed clay, but the arrangement suggested a choreography rather than a hurried burial. The instruments, bull-headed lyres and shell-inlaid harps, were not tossed aside but laid beside their players, as if the music had only just faded. Near the center, a pair of chariots with copper fittings stood ready. Their oxen's bones collapsed but harnesses intact. Attendants clustered around them, some with cups at their sides, others with small daggers or cosmetic boxes. Every detail pointed to a ritual, deliberate and rehearsed. The scale of the death pit set it apart from any known burial in the ancient world. 52 attendants, men and women, some young, some old, had entered the earth together, their final act witnessed by the objects left in their care. Archaeological records from Ur's cemetery show that no other tomb matches this level of collective sacrifice or the careful placement of both people and possessions. The pit was not a scene of chaos, but of discipline, as if these attendants played a role in a ceremony that demanded perfect order. They remain unmistakable in their silence, unnamed in the records, their identities lost, but their presence is a silent crowd arranged for eternity around the woman who lay at the center of it all. Pressed into the clay, the cylinder seal from Puabi's right arm holds a message that rewrites the rules of Sumerian sovereignty. The inscription is direct, 3 cuneiform signs: Puabi, Eresh. Not a wife's name, not a daughter's. No mention of a king, no shadow of a male patron. In a world where women's names, even among the elite, vanish behind those of fathers and husbands, Puabi's seal stands alone. The title Eresh, often translated as queen or priestess, carries weight but also ambiguity. In Eresh could mean a ruler in her own right, a high priestess with authority over temple economy, or a sovereign who blurred the boundaries between the sacred and the political. The seal's absence of a male counterpart is a rare anomaly in the archives of early Mesopotamia. Contemporary seals from Lagash or Kish almost always pair a woman's title with a king's name. Puabi's does not. Scholars debate whether Eresh here signals a priest queen, a dynastic matriarch, or something more radical, a woman whose authority was not borrowed but claimed outright. The only certainty is that whoever ordered this seal wanted the world to remember her name, and only hers. This singular identification turns Puabi from a figure lost to history into a political puzzle. Was she a ruler who issued orders, managed wealth, and commanded loyalty? Or was her autonomy a ceremonial fiction, a flourish carved in stone but not in life? The seal refuses to answer, but it leaves no room for anonymity. Puabi, Eresh, a woman whose name outlasted her city, whose title still unsettles the boundaries of power 4,000 years later. A bead of lapis lazuli, deep blue and streaked with gold, traces its story back to Badakhshan's mountains, nearly 2,000 kilometers from Ur. Chemical signatures, sodium, aluminum, sulfur, tie these stones to Afghan quarries, where miners carved raw blocks for traders who crossed the Iranian plateau. In Puabi's headdress, each lapis bead is a fragment of distant snowfields and unseen hands, shaped for a queen they would never know. Carnelian beads, orange-red and glassy, followed another route. Raman spectroscopy marks their high iron content, pointing to the Red Sea. These stones likely traveled by boat along the Gulf of Aqaba, then overland through Bronze Age ports, their journey mapped by trace elements and isotopic ratios. The royal tomb at links directly to the mineral-rich cliffs of Eilat, hundreds of miles to the west. Shell ornaments, pale and iridescent, reveal the warm, sailing currents of the Persian Gulf through stable oxygen isotope analysis. Pearl divers and fishermen gathered these shells along the Arabian coast, each one a record of maritime exchange and proof that Ur's reach stretched far beyond its riverbanks. Even the gold, hammered thin, carries a signature. Lid isotope analysis fixes its origin in the south-central Iranian gold belt, with a lead isotope ratio of 0.839, distinct from Egyptian or Anatolian sources. These materials, lapis from Afghanistan, carnelian from the Red Sea, shells from the Gulf, gold from Iran, turned Puabi's tomb into a map of ancient connections, each object a token of the networks she commanded. A computed tomography scan of the skull from the death pit tells a story no ancient text could. The computed tomography images reveal a clean depression pressed into the frontal bone, measured at just over 4 millimeters deep, with smooth edges and no signs of healing. This is not a wound someone survived. Along the fracture's rim, microanalysis picks up a faint but unmistakable chemical trace: copper at 12 parts per million and tin at 3 parts per million. These are the fingerprints of bronze, metal worked and wielded in Sumer's workshops, the same alloy as the weapons found scattered near the bodies. Scanning electron microscopy confirms that the fracture surface bears the telltale striations of a peri-mortem blow, not the jagged cracks of collapse over centuries. No arsenic, no mercury, no residue from any known poison appears in the bone's mineral matrix. Instead, tiny flecks of cinnabar, mercury sulfide, bright red in Sumerian ritual, are concentrated around the wound. On the cups beside the bodies, residue analysis finds traces of fermented barley and honey, a ceremonial drink, but nothing that could kill. The data converge. The attendants did not drift into death by toxin. They were struck down, bronze meeting bone, as part of a ritual that left its evidence in the silent language of trauma and trace elements. A wooden crate stamped with the code PG 800 and wrapped in layers of bitumen traveled from Ur to London in 1929. The manifest filed in the British Museum's accession ledger listed its contents plainly. Human cranial remains, condition intact. Each entry, each signature, built a paper trail that now anchors the skull's identity. No room for swaps or lost provenance. Decades later, a technician pried open the archival box and weighed a fragment for analysis. Strontium isotope readings settled at 0.7084, matching the local soils of the Ur Basin and tying Puabi's childhood to the city's riverbanks. But when scientists tried to extract DNA, the sample yielded less than half a nanogram per microliter, too little for a confident genetic profile. The bones outlasted empires, but not the slow decay of time. Each result stamped and logged reminds us that every scientific breakthrough rests on the quiet discipline of paperwork and the stubborn silence of ancient bone. Today, the bones and treasures of Ur rest behind museum glass, but the silent evidence keeps rewriting what we think we know. As new science challenges old myths, history proves stubbornly alive, unsettling, unfinished, and always waiting for us to look closer. Share your thoughts below.